Every single person you see wears them. But in Zimbabwe, we're still importing 90% of our underwear. What if I told you the next big business idea is literally sitting in your wardrobe? Welcome to Just Adulting ZW, where we turn cotton, need, and hustle into money. Let's talk Undies, profits, and why Zimbabwe needs this now. This business focuses on manufacturing and marketing 100% cotton underwear for the Zimbabwean market. Cotton garments offer superior softness, breathability, and comfort, qualities Zimbabweans need for a hot climate and long work days. The products will serve a wide customer base across urban and rural areas nationwide. The range can include essentials like men's boxers and women's certified organic cotton bikinis. These are high quality, locally made alternatives to imported silk and nylon underwear, which often tear quickly and trap heat. Demand is especially strong in urban centers like Harare, Blues, and Mutare, where consumers are shifting toward durable, skin-friendly basics. I'm sure we've been hearing many cases of yeast infection, all this and that. Some of the items are in all these underwears, so you'd also want to have a specific group of people maybe that you want to serve if you're gonna go the organic route. But overall, this is a very good business idea. For your production capacity, it really will depend on your labor, the materials and equipment that you're going to use in the production process. The business idea could run for the whole year, and you could have a specific number of underwears that you're going to produce on a given day, but overall you have to run throughout the year. So maybe you have to get quite a number of people to work with you so that you can alternate the shifts and everything like that, and the wages, the salaries, things like that. You might think, Kuti, you need a specific machine to actually make these things. You really don't need a special machine, unless, of course, I don't know, but a basic sewing machine can do the job. It just now depends, Kuti. Do you have a specific group of people that you want to sell for? Or maybe you could actually group your customers into maybe kids. Maybe you want to just produce mapens evana, or you want to do adults, or you want to do women only, or you want to do men only. Just depends. But whichever group you choose, the fabric is readily available. Knit, Anika, almost all the fabric stores you can think of, knit is readily available. Also, one maybe this one that is showing that is printed, but the plain ones you can get them at most $2 per meter or $1.80 per meter. Just depends with the shop. But you can also choose to do cotton, like 100% cotton. It's locally available, but because it's 100% cotton, of course the price per meter will also increase, but it doesn't really strain you or your budget, or doesn't really affect the end price that you're going to put on these underwears. Because you might think, that maybe if I'm going to buy a fabric that is $10 per meter, then I'm honestly not going to get any client. You will get a client, because it doesn't make sense to say the whole of the country you're not going to get a client, especially for underwears, because people want these things. And if the fabric is being put on $10 per meter, then the quality is also great. So it means you're also now focusing on a specific group of people. You're not going to serve everyone. No one can serve the whole of the country by themselves. It's not real. So you need to get a sewing machine. Even a basic sewing machine can do the job. You need to get an overlocker to have a very seamless stitch at the end. The overall look should be clean. You need an iron, that is a flat iron, that's available locally. You need a steam pressing table, But if you don't have that, you can still get a steaming iron. It can still work and do the job as well. You need your packaging materials. Now this can also be, very catchy. You need to be so creative. Imagine putting your underwears in a certain packaging, a certain bag in Ingega brandwa, and branding is locally accessible. You can find an interprinting. You can ask them to create a logo, a very fancy one for your brand. And you can also make use of the bikers if you're going to be operating online, if you're going to be operating with a physical store. You'd also need to get a biker at some point, I think, because if you're going to have so much traffic, then it means you need someone else to deliver for one shop, right? So slightly you might need a website. We'll talk about the website in another video, but if you have it, if you have the funds for that, you can have a website to allow people who actually do online shopping, who know how to go about it, to use that platform as well. But it's another one for another video. So you also need to look at your fabrics, the different fabrics that you're going to get. You need to look into that as well and see which ones you really want to venture into using. You also need elastic. You also need to take care of your general cost, the overheads, that is the labor, the people that you're going to be working with. That is if you are thinking of going big. Otherwise, you can start small. You can even do it by yourself. You start with small numbers, and as you see the numbers coming in, you may want to now find someone to help you. It could be a sibling, actually, And you also need to think about the rent. That is, if you're renting a space, you want to think about the water, the power. That is, if you're renting a space. And you also think of the miscellaneous cost, the randoms. And you also want to consider the depreciation. Your machine, at some point, it cannot continuously run without being serviced as your body, because you're not going to have, unfinished work, a bit distorted and all that. But overall, these are like the main expenses or the main production and operating costs, the direct materials and supplies that you might need. So a sewing machine, it could be a basic domestic one, but at some point you want to buy an industrial one, but it's okay. A domestic sewing machine can cost you around $100 to $120. Then you need those. Those are very affordable. But you know that if you're going to be doing underwears, you are working with stretch fabric mostly. So you need a specific needle for that, right? So that's a different cost, but it's not really much. At most, the biggest figure could be $2, a packet of that. And your threads as well. How did I forget about threads? You need those threads. So you also need to do your marketing, that advertising. So it just depends with really how best you want to do this marketing and advertising of your underwears. You could get models, but it's very tricky. It's very tricky, but it's okay. You can also get an artificial display stand for underwears. You can buy those online, even on Alibaba. You can find those. You can buy many of those, and you just need a nice background that you can create at home as well. So this is not a very stressful business idea, and it's not straining as well. But definitely, if you find the market, the pro tip is even getting sizes for plus sizes. Yes, because that one is a very disadvantaged market sometimes. They really find clothing for their sizes. To think of underwears, that isn't even worse. So you can actually find kuti in the long run, you might end up making bras as well for these people, for this group of people. So you could actually think kuti we have actually maybe are they 4 or 5 groups of people, groups or markets that you can focus on, because you don't want to supply for every group because you're starting. So you could choose to start with kids, right? You could choose to start with kids, that's the first group, or you could choose to do teenagers, that's the second group. You could decide to do the normal sizes, like the extra small to maybe large, that's the other group. Then you could also decide to do the extra large to maybe 6XL, that's another group. Then you could also think of men. Now, I'm not so sure about the sizes for men, the smallest to the normal size. So that's 5 groups. That's 5 groups. Or maybe the 6th one could be the organic group. You know, the special fabrics. Yeah, that could be another group. Or you could also think of just making seamless pants. These can also sell. Why? Because most women, they like to put on maybe bright colors and bodycon dresses, bodycon clothing. So having a seamless pant could be great because it doesn't show when you put on, that nice body hugging dress or body hugging clothing. So that could be another group. So in total, we've got 7 groups. So out of 7 groups, you cannot tell me that you cannot focus on one group and just do a trial. You're not going to make 50 pieces. Let's just say you're going to make about 20 pieces and see how good it could be, and you see the market. Or you could make 2 pieces of each design or each fabric, each texture, and see which one people like most. That will tell you, kuti, you need to move in this direction or you need to go this direction. It's like you just choose. But overall, guys, I think this is a very good idea. I think this is a good idea because why? Why can it not be a good idea? Tell me what you think. Do you think it's a good business idea? Do you think we could eliminate people importing underwears? Because really, I've never seen anyone. Actually, I've never seen any business on Facebook, or maybe I haven't really done much research, but I haven't seen any company or small business locally that manufactures underwears. I've never. So tell me what you think. Tell me if you think this could be actually a good business idea, or if you have questions. If you're not a tailor, and would want to venture into this, maybe you can help each other on how best you can do it, even if you're not a tailor, because it's doable as well. Even if you're not a tailor, you really don't need to know how to use a machine to have this business running. Okay.